So with that, I'm going to turn this over to our two biotech students from MiraCosta who are going to tell you a little bit about the fields that they have worked in. And you can feel free to ask questions along the way if you want to put them in the chat. I will stop sharing the screen so that you can actually see our students. Let's see, Julia, I see that you're on. Can I bring you up?
It's fine with me. I thought Jackie was going first, though.
Hello, I can go first. That's fine. So hey guys, my name is Jackie, and I'm currently in the biomanufacturing bachelor's program at MiraCosta. I'm a part of the 4th cohort there, and I started working in the industry already about a year and a half ago. At that time, I hadn't even received my associate's degree yet, but I did have a certificate that I had gotten through MiraCosta for like lab skills and proficiency. And that was enough for me to be able to apply, make a resume, show what my goals are, what kind of degrees I plan on getting, and that I have some certificates already. And where I work is in a research and development company that works with cancer products and pharmaceuticals. So I started on the research side of things as a molecular biology intern. And that was basically a lot of it was just doing general like lab duties to help not only with the molecular biology team, but the lab in general. So it's kind of like making certain buffers or solutions that researchers would have to use, or keeping stock of chemical inventory and things that we're running low on and adding that onto an ordering sheet. And then kind of as I worked there, I was able to learn more things. And this company was great in the fact that they're very open to, teaching their interns new things that they can learn to do around the lab. And now actually about 6 months ago, I switched out of molecular biology, and I now focus on protein and doing protein research to make the pharmaceuticals that we produce there. And it's really been an amazing experience for me, especially being able to start working in industry so early on, even before I had any kind of degree. It was really nice to be able to get my foot in the door like that. And especially with the company I work at, I think it's a really great place, and I've been able to learn so much from it. And I even found the job through MiraCosta. We have, as Dominique mentioned, we have Joanna, who's like a counselor specifically for us, and her, as long as our head chair of the department, they send out like job notifications every week or every couple of days. And that's where I was able to find this position to work at. And most of the other interns that work there, they are all going to UCSD. And it was just kind of crazy for me to see how we are both in the same position, kind of on the same path, and yet most of these other kids were dealing with a lot of student debt, and their classes were super expensive, and they did not even have half the resources that MiraCosta was able to provide for us. And so it's just, I really recommend our program. It's great. And if you're interested in science at all or in biotech, it's really an amazing experience to get to go through.
Thanks, Jackie. We'll bring up Julia next.
Hello. I'm also in her cohort. Can't see my eyes with these on. I'll just not be able to see. I'm also in the same cohort as Jackie. So we're both in the 4th cohort. We should be graduating next year. I didn't start in industry as early as her, but I've had a couple of jobs in industry that would be considered manufacturing, and one that would be considered biomanufacturing. So I worked as an operations intern at Argonaut Manufacturing Services. So that's a contract manufacturing place in Carlsbad that does lots of different formulations and filling and finishing for other companies. So I worked in formulations and fill and finish operations. So I would basically be packaging kits, formulating different kinds of bulks, handling regulatory documents, and doing a lot with inventories. And as an intern, I also did any odd job they'd give me, like I'd have to wash armor beads every week. I would have to restock all the gowning. It was good experience just in the way that you get to participate in every department just because you're an intern. So I got to help with QA and QC and lyophilization for a little bit and mostly formulations. But besides that, I've had 2 other manufacturing jobs. One where I was manufacturing water meter type things for an engineering company. And the most recent one, I work as a refurbishment technician. And basically we make this machine that refills ink cartridges. And I'm the one who refurbs all the machines and all of the different parts of the machines. So it's not really bio, but it's interesting because you get to learn about the ink, how they make the ink the same as the OEM standard and all the lifetime studies they have to do and the expiration dates they have to do for the ink. So it's mildly similar. But the path that I took to get there, if you're interested in these kind of jobs, is I first graduated pretty early. So I used the California High School Proficiency Examination, which is a test you can take to get out of high school, not undermining how good your high school is. But if you want to graduate early, you can take this test. And with that, you can also take it, continue going to high school, and work full time. That's another thing you can do. Not that I would recommend that either. But so I took that. And then at MiraCosta, I got my associates in research and development. And then I'm getting my bachelor's with Jackie. So you can get, with this program, you can get jobs before jobs you'd be able to get if you got a bachelor's at UCSD or something. I've heard from many employers that they like this program and that the people they get from it that have associate's degrees or just certificates know more lab skills than anyone coming out of UCSD. So if you want to get a job early on, it's a very good program for that. And also something I'd recommend is applying to jobs even if you don't really qualify for it, because if they like your personality, they'll train you for basically anything. Like most of the jobs I've gotten were based on people I knew there or connections I had, and that they just liked me from the interview. I didn't really know what I was doing. So they'll train you if they like you. So I would apply to any job that you really want and hope for the best. So if you're interested in the program, it's a great program, like Jackie said. And if you want jobs, feel free to contact me. I know a lot of people in the industry that I can help you with.
Thanks, Julia. That was great advice from both of you. I know we'll have time at the end for questions, but I also want to encourage you, I don't know how it's set up on your end, Stephen, but feel free to put questions in the chat if you have any, and I'll make sure we have extra time for that at the end. At this point, I wanted to show you all some videos from our lab. Unfortunately, we can't take you there in person right now because of everything that's going on, but I at least wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of what our lab looks like. So I'm going to show just a couple of clips and I'll talk through as we're looking at this. So hopefully you can see this video here. This is an example of one of our students who is setting up a bioreactor. The pink liquid in there, that is media containing cells, and he's going to transfer that using this sterile pipette into the mini bioreactor that we have on the right. Earlier on, we got to see pictures of really, really big bioreactors that people use in industry. And in the lab at MiraCosta, we have bioreactors, they're just tinier because we don't necessarily have the same amount of space as the industry. But they function in the same way, so you still get to learn about how they work. And one thing that I want to point out here, and that's really a crucial part of our program, is that this student is using aseptic technique, meaning that he's being really careful to, wear his gloves. You may not see it in this video, but he sprayed everything down with ethanol so that there is not going to be, any contamination in this area where he's working with the cells. And once he does this transfer, he's then going to be able to start to set up the bioreactor. And we're going to see what that looks like in a minute in a separate video. So I'll pause this. And you may wonder, well, we have a lot of cells in there. We talked about before how there are 100 trillion cells in the typical bioreactor. In science, it's really crucial that we know how many cells we're working with so that we can actually produce the right amount of product. And in this video, you're going to get to see in our laboratory, one of our lab technicians actually counting the cells using this countess device. So what she's doing now is she's taking a special dye that she's mixing up with a little bit of the cells using those pipettes. And then she's going to put this liquid into a little device that will hold the cells and then insert it into the countess so that it can read the number of cells. Perhaps some of you may have done something like this in the lab in high school. I'm not quite sure, but the faculty there can nod or shake their head if this is not the case. But if you haven't seen it, this is the little device that she's going to put her cells into. She has to be very careful not to spill over the edges of the device. It may be difficult to see here, but it's quite easy to spill over. So she's very careful here. And we'll get to see what it looks like when she actually gets a reading for this. Most of the cells that we work with in the lab are Chinese hamster ovary cells. And this is because they're approved by the FDA for many applications, so they're easy to work with. Here you can see she inserted the device, and you can see on the screen that she's going to capture the number of cells. It's going to take a quick minute to count them. And then it will pop up on the right-hand side. Hopefully you can see on the right-hand side, it gives you a concentration. And then it also gives you the percentage of cells that are alive and the percentage of cells that are dead. And we can tell that based on whether the cells are dyed with that special dye or not. So that's a really crucial thing that you would do in biotech, just because you're constantly working with cells. And I'll end with one more quick video just so you can see what the bioreactor themselves look like, because actually, let's go back, this is the wrong one, because it's pretty unique. Let's go ahead and share this one. So again, here we have a lab tech who is setting up a bioreactor. You can see the pink liquid in there. Again, that's our media containing all of our cells. And then he's going to set up all of these different devices entering the bioreactor so that we can take different readings. We need to know how much oxygen is in there with our cells. We need to know how much other gases are in there as well, like carbon dioxide. We need to know the pH of our media to make sure that our cells are going to grow. So we're really just checking throughout the whole process that our cells are in good conditions and that they're going to stay healthy. And if not, we need to make a change. So you can probably tell from this video that this is a fairly complex process, and this is something that you'll learn as a student at MiraCosta, how you can set up a device like this, how you can monitor the process, and what to do if something goes wrong, how you can fix any issues that might come up. All right, so I will go ahead and pause here, and we're going to go back and hear from Joanna Gomez, who, like I said, is our student success specialist. And I'll just share the screen one more time here. So Joanna, I'll welcome you on now to talk about this last slide.
Thank you so much for having me today. So I would like to tell you a little bit about the classes where you can enroll. And the first class is three-unit class, Biotechnology 107. And what you can learn during this class, it will introduce you to biotechnology. It shows how biotechnology advances and transforms individual lives and communities. It also is gonna teach you about new technologies and development, role of the industry in addressing challenges such as COVID-19 pandemic and climate changes. So the goal of this class is to introduce you to the diversity of the biotechnology applications and impact on our daily lives. You will learn about the history of biotechnology, development in San Diego region, and explore how the biotechnology is being applied in challenges in medicine, in food like lab-based meats, sustainability like green plastics. Basically, this class is a great way for students that is biotech curious to dive in and see what biotechnology is about. You will also learn about writing resume and preparing for interviews. Second class listed is Biotechnology 110. It is amazing class. It's a 5-unit class. And in contrast to Biotechnology 107, which is only online and there is no prerequisites, so you are all welcome to take this class. But Biotechnology 110 is lab-based. During this class, you will learn about the lab safety, documentation, maintenance and calibration of lab equipment, preparing lab solutions, spectroscopy, and handling cell culture, purification protein, and using all of the equipments which just Dr. Dominique showed you during these YouTube videos. The last class, which is a 3-unit class and is offered in summer, also online, explains basic business practices and why they are important, because they are assuring safety and quality of biotechnology products during discovery, development, and production. So those are the classes we are offering. Like I mentioned, are you biotech curious? Join us during Biotech 107 online class. This one is 3-unit class. And during this class, you will learn about San Diego Biotech, about interviewing, writing resumes, and seeing biotech in your daily life, because you are surrounded by this biotech on every day. Thank you so much from me.
Thank you, Joanna. All right, so with that, I'm going to open it for questions, and I see I already got a direct question to me in the chat. So this question was, what kind of education do you need for this occupation? And it's a multi-part, so we'll start there. So in terms of education, you can get a job in biotech with a variety of different levels of education. So you could go, and get an associate's degree at MiraCosta or elsewhere in a relevant field like biotech or biology, and possibly be hired into the biotech industry at an entry-level position. If you continue on for a bachelor's degree, you may be able to get hired at a higher level or move up the ladder a bit more quickly. Depending on where you want to end up, you may also pursue a graduate degree. And so it really does vary in that range. The second part of this question is, what are your day-to-day duties? And this can really vary depending on the position. But I may just invite maybe our student speakers to just briefly share if they can give one example of like a quick day-to-day duty for their positions.
Yeah, I can go ahead and do that. So it definitely does depend a lot on kind of like what you're doing. But for me, like I said, I'm currently working in a protein group. So what we do is our company works with the same kind of cell line that Dominique was speaking about, which are CHO cells, so Chinese hamster ovary mammalian cells. So what we do is we get these cells and then we I'm trying to explain this in like layman's terms. We like transfect them, which means we get samples of purified plasmid DNA that other researchers have constructed to create specific proteins that they want the cells to make. So we get like really small volumes of these purified plasmids, and then we, using aseptic techniques under fume hoods, we insert that plasmid into cells, along with some other additives and supplements just to make the cells happy and have them grow the way we want. And then these cells will be incubated at around like 37 degrees Celsius in order for them to grow. And then they are left like that for a couple of days until the cells start dying out, because at that point they've already produced the most protein that they can make. And then what we do is we get those samples of cells with the proteins that we want, and we run them through a chromatography column, which is basically using a resin that has like really, really small beads in it that sometimes there's many different types of chromatography. They could be filtered by size or by the charge the protein has. So we do it by charge. So then we will set up these columns, put resin into it, and then load our samples through the column and let them run through. And we do this in order to kind of get rid of the dead cells and the media that we don't really want. And we are just looking to get the purified protein out of it. So then once we're able to get that, we can kind of test these protein samples, try to get a reading off of it to see, how concentrated they are and how pure the sample is. And then they will be put into little like microcentrifuge tubes and put into a freezer. And then the researchers can just go into these freezers, get the proteins whenever they want, and then continue on with whatever experiments they were doing.
Thanks, Jackie. The third part of this question is what skills are needed for this occupation? And we talked about some of this in terms of the ability to use sterile technique and make sure that you're not contaminating the cells, and also just being able to grow cells and count them. I don't know if either of the students have any other skills they want to add that they have found helpful.
I would say like a lot of the math is really helpful. Like I remember when I took my first biotech class at MiraCosta, which is BTech 110. That's a very like heavy lab class, and they emphasize a lot using this formula, which is C1V1 equals C2V2. And at the time, I was like, oh my God, like how many times are we gonna have to use this formula? And I kid you not, I literally use it every day that I go into work now. So a little things like that. There's definitely like a lot of math things or like little formulas that at the time like you may think are like not that important, but this definitely is one of those industries where they will come back and you'll probably have to use them at some point.
Julia, was there anything we missed or?
I mean, just soft skills too, dealing with people, being able to work in teams, being able to operate under a small amount of stress or a lot, depends on your schedule and what you have to meet in a certain day. And just being able to work with people really well, because you'll be working in a clean room sometimes, or in a biosafety cabinet or something like that, and you have to pass things to each other. There's someone inside, there's someone outside. You have to coordinate activities and coordinate with other departments. So there's a lot of being patient with other people.
Definitely, good points. Thank you both. There's another question I see in the chat. Is there a certain GPA that you need to do this? And I can answer this and also bring Joanna on if you have anything to add. But no, to take a class at MiraCosta, you can just go ahead and sign up for that class as long as there's no prereqs, or if there are prereqs, you would just need to have taken those prereqs. And you can then continue to take the classes required. And as long as you at least pass those classes, you can get your certificate or your associate's degree. If you want to do the bachelor's degree program, you then need to apply to that program, and there will be a selection process. Though we're a relatively new program, so you don't have to worry about it being on the scale of applying to like a UC system school. We're not going to have you write tons of essays or anything like that. We're really looking to make sure that you've completed the coursework and you've done relatively well in it. So again, no required GPA to start off doing all of this. You can just kind of jump right in whenever you're ready. And like Joanna said, we are actually offering a summer class, BTech 120, that has no prereqs and can give you a little taste of what biotech is like. Or you could possibly take one of the classes in the fall that Joanna mentioned. Let's see. I think that's all the questions I see in the chat.
Would I be able to add on to that last part?
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
So I just want to say, when I was in high school myself, I had a little bit of a hard time. My parents would move around really often, and I ended up going to 3 different high schools throughout the 4 years. And that it had taken a hard hit on my GPA. So I won't say exactly what it was, but coming out of high school, I definitely did not have the greatest GPA ever. But I feel like that really shouldn't discourage any of you from wanting to pursue something that you're really interested in. I know that I had always liked science, and it was something that I was always really interested in. And hearing this program at MiraCosta, I decided to give it a try. And, now I've been like, it's just such a stark contrast from my experience in high school to now. Like, I was able to be on the president's list the past 3 semesters in a row. And I feel like you definitely shouldn't, but don't doubt yourself just because you may not have like the greatest or highest GPA right now. Like, you still have a lot of time to improve and really go towards something that you're passionate or interested in.
Thanks, Jackie. And both Jackie and Julia are doing amazing in our program. They are some of our star students, so we're lucky to have them speaking to us today. I see a couple more questions came in as we were chatting. So one of them is, what company was Jackie working for again?
Oh yeah, so my company, the name is Inhibrix. I can actually put it in the chat box as well. And they are located in La Jolla, San Diego.
Awesome. And then the other question was, can you repeat what type of education you need? So it varies depending on what you want to do. So you could get an associate's degree in biotech, which would be 2 years after high school, taking classes at the community college to get that associate's degree. You could choose to just get a certificate, which instead of doing a full associate's degree, just gives you extra knowledge in a certain area, such as maybe a lab skills certificate where you take 3 classes focused on laboratory skills. Or you could continue and do the full bachelor's degree. It really depends where you want to end up in the biotech field. So for both Julia and Jacqueline, they're working on their bachelor's degrees. And so they're able to work in industry without having yet completed that, because they already have so many of the skills that they've picked up along the way from those earlier classes. All right, and I think I don't see any other questions, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to move to this last slide. So in case you have questions, you can definitely reach out to me. You can also go ahead and explore our website. And I see in the chat it says, I didn't know that you could get a bachelor's at MiraCosta. Is that new? Yep, that is relatively new. We had our first graduating class in 2019, and we are now on cohort 3 who will be graduating this spring. So it's really great news, and it's much more affordable, and it's much more hands-on as well than a lot of other programs that students would be looking at. So I highly recommend anyone who's interested at all in biotech or biomanufacturing, just check it out, explore our website. You could email me because it's a really great opportunity for you.
I just want to emphasize, biotech is one of the largest clusters we have here in San Diego as an industry cluster. I have several friends who work as chemists right now at different companies, and it's a great occupation. It's a heavily growing area. We're very, very fortunate to have MiraCosta in our backyard because they have a lab there. And if you're going to be hanging out here at Vista High next year, we definitely will go take a visit once it's safe. And then I also provide, we had a virtual field trip over to Genentech, but we'll probably go over to there and a couple other places like Thermo Fisher and things like that this coming next year. We are trying to build up a biotech pathway here at Vista High School. I'm working with Mr. Darling. He can't be with us here today because he's teaching a class and it's our IB students. But we're trying to build this up because we know that this is the future for a lot of you. And you may not even know it yet, right? But this is one of the future industries around San Diego here you can definitely get involved with. And we're, again, very fortunate to have MiraCosta nearby. And the price certainly is right. This is definitely, a very inexpensive way to get into a very exciting industry.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great summary, and I hope everybody will check this out or reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for letting us come and chat with you today.
Yeah, thanks for being part of the event. Like I said, this takes place of our career fair we usually have. This is like a lot more substantial than people at tables. So, and of course, I will like to have you guys back I'll try to arrange a biotech day next year where we can have people on campus. And of course, any students in biotech are welcome to come too and share your experiences. That was great to hear from you. So thank you very much for being brave and coming in and talking to our students today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, we would love to do the biotech day, and we'll be in touch about possibly doing a tour soon.
Oh, yes,
All right.
definitely.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate it. Both our speakers and our instructors and all of our students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.